Greetings, comrades. This is your captain, USS Endeavor, and we are kicking off the new Russian line with the Izyaslav. Yes, I'm saying that right. I looked it up just to listen to it before I kicked off this video. I have a feeling there's going to be a couple of these that I pronounce incorrectly. But here we have our commander in the background, Anton Gurin, and the inspirations being Mordov and Bay with our detectability. He helps with penetration with his base trait, and everything else you see as our perk slots are going to help. We'll get into a little bit of that. This isn't the go-to build that I have for the rest of the line, just the one that I'm using here at Tier 3 because, let's face it, it's Tier 3. The only mod slot that I'm using is Aiming Systems Mod 1, and the consumable that we have is our smoke generator and a standard engine speed boost. Going into the main ship stats, it's Tier 3, so these aren't gonna be impressive, but we just have a little bit over 10,000 hit points, which is awfully low, or at least what I'm used to being awfully low. But again, we're in Tier 3. Their artillery, they're 102 millimeter shells, which is not very good. They're not going to pen a whole lot at this tier, but Anton Gurin with his extra penetration multiplier will help a little bit. But you get 5 main batteries that reload just under 5 seconds. Your torpedoes, you have 9 of them in a 3x3 configuration. They reload awfully fast, sub 40 seconds, but they only have a 5-kilometer range and their speed is less than 60 knots, which is one of the downsides that you had with this line. The torpedo range was very weak. Speaking of weak, AA defense might as well not exist, so don't worry about that. On to the maneuverability. This is where the strength of the line really kind of plays out. This is a pretty maneuverable ship, great turning circle radius with rudder shift time, and the speed is what makes this line really, really good. And we'll go over that later down the road, but you're going to want to play this mainly from range because your detectability is some of the worst in the game. Now, here we've spec'd a little bit into it, which is close to about the last that I'm going to do, and I'll explain why. This is a destroyer in name, and the whole line, yes, they're destroyers, but I play them more like pocket cruisers. And like I said, as we go further down the line, you'll understand that. But here, the armor is very weak. Anything's going to be able to penetrate it. So, on to the gameplay. The gameplay will be going on in the background, but I want to talk about this line and why I really, really liked it. And I liked it well before they got buffs. A lot of the destroyers, I believe, the Tier 5 and the 6, the Nevny and the Minsk, they got buffed, and they got buffed really, really well. And then the Tashkent, I believe, also got a buff, but it didn't really need it that much. It was an overall really good ship. The Delny, which is the Tier 8, actually got nerfed a couple times because of how well it was performing. Apparently, the very few amount of people that had that ship that was playing it on a continual basis was just kicking butt and taking names, and Wargaming decided to nerf it. So, it's still a great boat, and we'll go over all of that. But I want you to I'm going to attempt to lobotomize your brain when it comes to this destroyer line. And I know that a lot of people struggle with this line. I did at first until I kind of figured out what really makes this line tick. It kind of comes with a mental shift. You need to look at this line with a different perspective. And what I mean by that is, yes, they are destroyers in name, because that's what they are. They are destroyers. However, because of the fallacies in the concealment and in the torpedo range, and again, I played this before all these buffs occurred, I couldn't rely on the torpedoes effectively because they were extremely short. I think the maximum range that you could get stock was 4 kilometers, which is abysmal. They're defensive in nature only. I know that the cruisers right now are at 4 kilometers, even up to the Chapayev, and it's just ridiculous at how short range they are because you can't use them. So a destroyer line that has torpedoes that you can't effectively use was like, well, what's the point? Well, the point is that they have decent guns. However, the reload on them was actually kind of long. So you had really bad concealment, short-range torpedoes, and guns that whenever they hit their target, because they have really high velocity, low arcs, so your shells could get there really fast, but everything could out DPM you. So a lot of people hated this line, and because it wasn't the traditional destroyer line or the gameplay that most people were used to. But I like quirky stuff in this game. I don't know why. I like a challenge. I like ships that don't exactly play to what the meta says should be played. I don't play all the super popular ships, or at least I don't enjoy them. I do play them, but it's not what I primarily enjoy. What I really enjoy are the ships that are really tough to do well in, because there's a sense of satisfaction that comes whenever you can amass the top of the leaderboard, or you're down tiered and you hit the top of the leaderboard, or you generate a lot of XP, or you're the reason why a match is won. Those are the kind of things that really get me playing this game and keep me playing this game. So, and this line, before the buff, was not easy to play. Now that the buff has occurred, I actually haven't revisited these ships nearly as much as I probably should have. So I'm really this is gonna be kind of a fresh look for me, as much as it is for people who are interested in this line, who want to know more about it, and want to do well in it. So let's take this journey together. But understand, I play these ships not as traditional destroyers. I love cruisers. So if you don't know where I'm going with this yet, I play these a lot like cruisers, not necessarily destroyers. Mentally put yourself in that space that you're playing a mini cruiser, a pocket cruiser with no citadel. All of a sudden, these ships start to become a lot more appealing, and they become much more fantastic and enjoyable to play. Now, the one downside is that if you're going to take on the cruiser role, well, you're giving up the destroyer slot that you have in the game. And that can tend to make other people not like you when you're not playing like a destroyer, because everybody's going to expect you, when you're in one of these, to play like a destroyer, meaning contest caps, meaning spot other ships. Well, when everything can outspot you, you have to kind of take a different approach. So we're going to go over all that whenever we go down, these ships, and we take a look at each one. And I may play these ships twice, minus this one, the tier 3, just grind through it and get through it. It's not a ship that you don't want to stay in here long. Once you get to tier 4, especially tier 5 and on up, that's when it really starts to become enjoyable, and you really kind of start to understand this line. Here, I just wanted to stop real quick in the gameplay. We have a full Hotnik, which is another Russian premium, also known as the murder sausage, because it has a bunch of guns and a ton of torpedoes. In short range, this thing is crazy dangerous, and here I am definitely within that short range. However, none of the torpedoes come out. I knew he was coming because of our bearing locator was showing that he was coming around that island. We spotted him before, and he decided to make that trek all the way around. So me spotting in the map was what I was doing earlier. Here, if you see the bearing locator flipped, and there's another destroyer that's behind our cap. It's the tier 4 Jaguar. And they're his torps, so I am making my run over there. And he's a tier 4, and I'm a tier 3. So just kind of watch this sequence. It's pretty cool. This kind of and again, these are the kind of reasons why I enjoy playing this game. Because on paper, I shouldn't win this fight. It's a tier 4 Jaguar, and I'm a tier 3 destroyer. He outclasses me in almost every way. His guns are much better than mine. His torpedoes are... He may not have as many torpedoes, but the only thing that I have that he doesn't is smoke. And I am going to utilize that. And here I'm asking the carrier to help me because a pure one-on-one, he should beat me here. And he's full health, so full health versus full health, tier 3 versus tier 4. Here we go. But I'll let you kind of watch that as I finish talking about about what I was discussing before. I'm going to be playing these ships like... I'll play the traditional destroyer role for one match, and then I'll change it and I'll play it like I like to play them, which is a cruiser role. And hopefully I'll be able to show the strengths and the weaknesses of both, because there is no one way to play these, which is another reason why I kind of like this line for me. Can you technically play it like a destroyer? Sure. It's a little bit harder. In my opinion, it's the hardest line to play as a destroyer role only. But now that the new Italian DD line just came out, I think that one may have... it may rival the Russian DDs for that title, because they're also not easy to play. Here the game ends, and we were able to take out both those tier 4 destroyers without dying, so I consider that a huge win. So that is a look at the tier 3 Izyaslav. So make sure you just grind through that. It's not going to be hard. And then once you get to the tier 4 Pavoisky, it gets a lot of fun. So that's a look at that. I'm excited for this line. I'm excited to kind of show you how I like to play it. It is going to get spicy. It's not the easiest line, but it is one that if you can do well with this line, you can do well in almost any line. So we're going to take a look at that, break it down for you. I'll give you my thoughts. You can tell me I'm crazy. I don't care. But so fair winds and fair seas, comrades. This is your host, USS Endeavor, and I will talk to you on the next one. So signing off for now.